Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello, Canadian MJ friends. Hope you're well. We're going to look at the major names here. First things first, want to talk a little bit about the scenario going on with APHA. Obviously, that's been a lot of the buzz going on. I'm going to give some of my opinion. My opinion is just my opinion. If you disagree with it, that's completely fine, and it doesn't matter if you disagree or agree with my opinion. You can have your own opinion. That's great. Bottom line is, number one, everyone needs to watch the short report video. I think the video does a better job than just reading the report. Needs to watch that with an unbiased mind. And I know that's easier said than done because a lot of people don't have the ability to watch it with an unbiased mind because their money is involved. So one thing that I want to point out, regardless of whether or not this is true. So let's just put that aside because we can go back and forth. You know, this is true, this isn't true. In the end, it's probably the truth is probably somewhere. And one of our members said this, and it's a really good point. It's probably somewhere in the middle. The shorts are definitely exaggerating some things and making some stretches. The bulls are definitely looking past certain huge red flags and making excuses for the company. The reality is probably somewhere in the middle there. As far as what you should be doing in this scenario. So I personally used to, in the penny stock world, when I was trading USMJ in the penny stock world 8 years ago, 6 years ago, I used to do this investigative journalist action in a much less legitimate way. I did it from online, but I was looking at Google Maps. I was looking at office space buildings. I was tying, connecting the dots in previous dealings. And what does this person have with this association? And this person has previous scams. And you can see they were partners on this venture 5 years ago. I was doing all of that. And this is just so familiar to me in terms of what goes on all the time in the penny stock space. I know we're not in the penny stocks. We're listed on the NYSE. We're on the TSX. This is a major company. That's why it's creating so many headlines and why it's such a big deal right now. But just know that this happens all the time with this kind of scamming and this kind of lying, straight up lying in press releases all the time in penny stock. So let's just understand that that's a fact. It is a clear ongoing. I talk about it all the time in my intro to USMJ videos. I talk about it. In my intro to Canadian MJ, I talk about it as well. Just the experience that I have with penny stocks and the scams. So this all sounds extremely familiar to me. Whether it's true or not, again, throw that out the window. Let's just disregard that. This cloud that APHA and this bearish sentiment has created on this space is very real. Again, regardless of if it's true or not, this is going to hang over the head of APHA for a very long time. This is not going to be just shaken off by, a couple quarters of earnings. Think about the sentiment of what's going on right now. The Canadian MJ space has a community, as we see on Reddit and Facebook groups and our trading groups all over the world. There's a community. People are wondering, how do I make money? What company should I be interested in? If someone comes up to me, and people have for the past 2 years, I've gotten so many messages from friends and family, and I've given advice and what companies to look at. There is no chance that I'm going to recommend APHA in this current environment, even if everything is false. I just cannot, in good conscience, it would be irresponsible for me to suggest APHA to somebody without me knowing for sure what the facts are. It is a clear default CGC. What company should I be interested in Canadian MJ? CGC. That's it. We're not going to talk about APHA because we're not going to steer someone down potential, financial distress because we don't know. That's the bottom line. None of us know. We're looking at press releases in terms of every single word that the company wants us to know. That's what's in the press release. Digging through financials, accountants are giving their opinion. The bottom line is this is a very bearish overhang on the entire sector, both Canadian and US, because it completely wipes out a whole bunch of trust. And you're seeing even these banks that are putting out targets and buy ratings on these companies now retracting that and saying this is under investigation. Things have been brought to our attention. The bottom line is these companies, these banks are not doing in-depth research. They're looking at financials, absolutely, but they're taking it at face value for these companies that are listed on major exchanges. They're not going on the ground and checking operations. So just be aware that right now it's a shock to a lot of people involved. And if this does end up being true, and I do believe the SEC is going to investigate, whether they halt and investigate, whether they just do a surface preliminary investigation, I don't know, but they are going to investigate at this point. In my opinion, the headlines are too significant. There's too much attention. There's too much money at stake that it's not just going to go disregarded and ignored, in my opinion. But the bottom line is, this is going to come around with APHA and stick with APHA for a really long time. I personally have no interest in ever bag holding anything. That means my money is tied up, it's not working for me, and most often, it just is a slow red dwindle down. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the same mentality that we have going on right now on Reddit, in these Facebook groups, where people are in, and if you are in APH right now, accept everything as a write-off. Accept your position is 0, and then you can't be disappointed. Everything's a bonus after that, because that's worst case scenario, and you always want to prepare for worst case scenario. So right now, if you are in APHA, plan financially that that's worth $0, because again, anything on top of that is just a bonus, and you're already planning for the worst case, because it is possible it gets halted. Whether it's likely or not, can't say, but it's just possible. So in terms of APHA making a recovery anytime soon to levels that we've seen in recent past, it's just not going to happen anytime soon. The company has done a really poor job of responding to these allegations. They might do a better job. Maybe they're building a case. I don't know. If I had a legitimate company and legitimate operations, I would have been on a plane to one of my South American operations, and I'd be live streaming, showing the operations. I'd be on CNBC, I'd be on BNN, and we're just not seeing that. This is a very slow response in a very fast-paced world, as we have now dropped so significantly, 40% in the last 2 days, more than that. So again, that's my opinion. If you believe this company and you think the shorts are just lying, that's fine. But no matter what, even if the shorts are lying, this is a significant dent, and we're not going to recover anytime soon in terms of just shaking this off. It could come out that the shorts were wrong, and here's all this proof, and the bulls, and this and that, and it's just still not going to bring us back to where we were before all of this has occurred. So at this point, we have significant short positions in APHA. They have no reason to cover. They ensured a weak close. We have the short group saying that more information is coming out Thursday. They're just dangling the carrot. You better believe that just like the bulls are going to try and time news releases to run the price up, the bears are doing the exact same thing with their release of information. They want the most bang for their buck. I'm looking at the potential of another gap down and a 3 gap down bullish reversal pattern. Canada is trading tomorrow. The US is closed. And the setup is there for the gap down open. We're seeing weakness into the end of the day. We only need to see a 2% drop for another gap down open. And this is a very common reversal pattern that shows the bears get exhausted, and then we see a short-term oversold bounce. So it's worth watching. It doesn't mean if we gap down tomorrow that means the bounce is going to happen tomorrow. We can gap down tomorrow and then see the bounce happen Thursday, and that still fits the criteria of the bullish reversal 3 gap down pattern, and I suggest Googling or Investopediaing that if that is a new pattern for you. So I just talked a lot about that, and again, if you disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. We can all be friends. My opinion, just to sum it up, I don't know what's true or what's false. I want nothing to do with this company for more than just quick flips for day trades, which I've day traded it twice in the last 2 days, but it's too much uncertainty. There's too many more legitimate companies that I can be focusing on if I'm a long-term investor, which I'm not in this space. The entire space is being hurt. We are on the verge of another leg down on the entire US and Canadian MJ sector. The S&P 500 has an immense amount of fear just today. So Trump and China, I'll talk about it in my SPY video, but that's now a big red flag, and we can see the S&P 500 go bearish on the monthly time frame still at this point. That head and shoulders pattern that we've been talking about for 5 or 6 weeks is still in play. So again, at this point, prepare for the worst. Write it off as 0. Don't stress about it, because I have seen firsthand, for some of you that remember SUNE, that solar company, it was the same thing where people just were so in denial and buying on the way down and burning their money, and it affects you psychologically. It can potentially ruin your life. So again, we have to be very careful with what we're doing here, and we have to protect our funds. Let's do analysis. We should have put that at the end. CGC on the daily time frame, bear break, close at the low of the day. We do have a couple support levels left, but if we see a break of 30.95 and 30.26, there is no support nearby. The next weekly support level is down at 24.46. So we can absolutely see another leg down in the Canadian MJ sector led by CGC weakness. And we had a bunch of fake outs on some of these individual names. You can see CGC broke 34.85 resistance, but that was just the correlation to the cron news that lasted, a couple minutes that we broke that resistance and then gave it all back. So that's a fake out, but if you were aware of what was going on at that point in time, it was easy to not be faked out by that signal. But here we are about to test support with the potential of another leg down, and it's not looking good for the bulls. Bottom line, at this point, I would need a break of 35.18 for the bulls to prove anything to me on CGC, and that's well over 10% from where we stand right now. So tomorrow, Canadian MJ names are going to be testing their support levels, and there's the potential of bear breaks here. Cron on the daily time frame, still strong. Clearly the strongest name. Daily inside bar, break of 10.38 would be bearish. Break of 11.20 would be bullish. We just have an hourly equilibrium after all the volatility. Turn on extended hours, the lower high pre-market. It was clear that we were going to be unable to break the high of yesterday, this morning. So we have our high, low of the pullback, lower high pre-market, higher low. And we don't have a real clear lower high right now. It's just a lower high every single hourly candlestick. The bulls really want to hold 10.55, is another little higher low, and see a bull break over $11. But even if we break $11, we're still going to look for a lower high in the lower $11 range compared to $11.74. So if we look on the 4-hour time frame, let's see if we have any clarity. And we don't. So I just look around at different time frames, see where things are most clear. And at this point, it's the hourly time frame. 10.38 break would be clearly bearish. 10.55 is the red flag. If that breaks, 10.38's on deck. But in terms of a bull move, again, scouting a lower high, even if we do get that bull move back over $11, as the range will anticipate it's going to continue to tighten from there. So overall, Cron did such a good job of ignoring sector weakness and ignoring market weakness today. It's very notable. So keeping Cron on watch for that fact. If we see a bear break, we're going to look for a daily higher low to form on healthy consolidation. And I would be very surprised for a bull break to happen in this market environment. But again, bulls holding up is a great sign. APHA, so the second gap down in a row. I traded APHA bullish this morning, and it was the same mindset of watching for the potential of shorts having to cover once the bell rings. So I entered on the first 5-minute candlestick, and I sold very quickly, break even when I saw no follow through. My first trade attempt was break even. We dropped down to lower lows, dropped all the way down to 583 on the Canadian side. I entered again, and forget what my signal was. It's hard for me to match this up with the US name. But I did enter again, ended up with a half day maker. I was not patient because I was being very protective playing against this trend. And when you want to see shorts cover, you want to see fast action. And we did not see bull volume and fast action that put any pressure on the shorts. You wanted to force them to cover, and we just didn't see that, which is why I exited a little early. Could have had a solid couple day maker if I held on, but perfectly fine taking my half day maker on that trade. And then I didn't touch it again. And we had a clear rejection towards the end of the day that put the bears in control. I said, I was talking in the chat room, put yourself in the position of the shorts. If you are a short, what's going to be a signal for you to cover heading into tomorrow? 663 breaking, and it was 504 on the US side. I said, if 504 breaks on the US, I would cover as a short. Look at us reject with a double top by 2 pennies. Bears owned the end of the day due to the inability to break that resistance, which kept the bears extremely confident and comfortable. So the close at the low of the day ensures that the bears can very easily see another gap down open at this point. We need a 2% drop from where we closed for a gap down open. There is zero support nearby at this point. We're looking down at levels of 631 that has broken. So now we're looking down at 562 as the next support level, back from July of 2017. 455 is the next, not the next level, but a clear level after that. Again, there's no support down here. We're getting crushed. RSI level is no help because the news. There will be a solid daily bounce opportunity, but I'm not trying to catch this falling knife. I'm waiting for clear trend changes to give me some support level to utilize to put in stop losses. The last thing you possibly want to be doing is trying to play a bounce on APHA, not using a stop loss and getting stuck in a position and saying, oh, well, I'll just hold it now. We're so oversold. That's the last thing you want to be doing. It can absolutely get worse. It can absolutely drop lower. And again, there is a risk of a halt, whether it's a 1% risk or a 20% risk. That depends on your opinion, but there is a risk that we get halted and an investigation by whatever the Canadian regulatory agency is or the SEC. So again, this is a good time to look within yourself and recognize maybe bias that you have, emotions that are getting clouded because there's money on the line. And it's a big time lesson for a lot of people. People learn the most in the stock market when they lose significant amounts of money. And it takes that to, I can be teaching someone and say, hey guys, I've gone through this. I've experienced this. I'm trying to speed up your learning curve and tell you that you need to use a stop loss on every single trade because I didn't. I lost money because I didn't. When I started doing it, it completely changed things for me to allow me to be a profitable, consistent trader, and people will still not use stop losses. So I'm well aware that it's a psychological barrier that oftentimes you have to feel the pain in order for that lesson to stick. And a lot of people are feeling that in ACB or APHA. Here on ACB, just clear daily lower highs. 846 is a lower high. 794 is a lower high. Anything under 794 is just another lower high. And now we're looking down at support of 707, and we're on the verge of breaking that after 707. 667 and 607 are the next two support levels. So ACB on the verge of another leg down. Bears are in complete control. And in order to change that, bulls prove absolutely nothing to me unless they can break 787 and 794. Anything under that is just a daily lower high. We close at the low of the day. Bears in complete control of the sector. TLRY, week close, still battling this $98, $99 level, on the verge of a bear break. Below 99, we're looking down at 94.55 as the next level. Weekly time frame, don't really like it for clarity. Daily time frame, you can see that if we break 99, it's certainly a red flag due to the lack of support nearby. 84.28 would be the next level after that, and we're going to test that support potentially tomorrow, actually Thursday, as we are not trading tomorrow, only listed in the US here. We got to share KSHB. I exited yesterday on this bear break of this double low of consolidation, which was a head and shoulders pattern. I exited at 566 breaking. We did see a solid bounce, and I thought, oops, I exited too early. But here we are looking for an hourly equilibrium. 595 to 553, lower high at the double top. Bulls must hold 553 for a higher low, and then we'll look for a bounce and a lower high if we can hold 553. Still watching for the potential of an uplisting, but I really want to be all cash in this market. I do not like the momentum or what I'm seeing for the bulls in this sector whatsoever on the US and Canadian side of things. And that was a level for me where if I stopped out on that break, I still kept a tiny bit of profit. So I could either stop out on a clear support level breaking and keep a small amount of profit, or eventually potentially take a red loss if I try and let it play out a little bit longer. So the daily chart's still just fine for the bulls. We're going to look for a higher low compared to 493. Again, I do anticipate an uplisting for KSHB, but maybe that's going to be inhibited, or I should say maybe that's going to be negatively affected by what's going on with APHA. That's something that I didn't think about until just now, and that's a possibility. So I'm all cash. I exited KSHB for a small win. I exited ITHUF for a small loss. And ITHUF, my stop was down here, the low of 434, and a significant bear break down to lower lows. It's falling apart. There's no support nearby. It's joining its Canadian sector friends in terms of a lack of weekly support and clear bear breaks, and a lot of names are doing it. CWBHF, Charlotte's Web, All Out Dump, looking at the all-time lows of the US name, Acreage Holdings. It's just getting crushed. Everything's getting crushed, guys. The sector is extremely bearish, and it can stay that way. This is SPY in a monthly uptrend too. If SPY rolls over on this monthly head and shoulders pattern and breaks the low of the October dump and breaks the low of the February dump, everybody's going to be talking about recession. We have a triple top on the weekly time frame. We have a clear weekly equilibrium to be watching on SPY, but again, just all kinds of caution as bulls in the market and bulls in these sectors. Only put in what you are willing to lose. If you write it off, again, when I traded crypto for the first time May 2017. When I made my first deposit, I decided to go big and go high risk, high reward. big for me at that time. And as soon as I pressed the deposit button, I mentally set myself, I just lost all that money. I started accounting for my money and my finances with that worth $0. That puts me in the psychological mindset to not emotionally react to things. It's $0. I have nothing more that I can possibly lose. Right now, we have some holdings from the chart guys that we get paid with cryptocurrency from courses or membership or whatever. Since day one, we viewed that as $0 when we've been accounting for it. So that's the mindset that you need to have anything be a bonus. Otherwise, day after day, it's going to, trust me, I've been there. I know the feeling in your stomach. You feel sick to your stomach. It's a knot, and it's with you every day, and you can't stop thinking about it. And you have to break that emotional tie to money if this game is for you. And at this point, you should very clearly be realizing that this is one giant game with numbers flashing around. It's a video game on the screens. We push buttons to try and get points. Those points just happen to be real dollars that can be used for real things. But this is all one giant game, and a lot of people, unfortunately, have a very bad time playing this game. So that's all I got. I certainly expect the APHA bulls to come out and have some negative reactions to my opinions, which is perfectly fine. I hope it recovers. I hope APHA goes to, well, I don't want to eat 6 bananas, so don't hope we hit an all-time high this year, but I hope we go to $20 in a month. That would be great. I would love for everybody to make their money back, even if I don't make $1 on the bounce. But I just don't think that it's likely, and I think that this is going to be an overhang and a hangover for this name for a long time to come. So I appreciate you watching. Best of luck out there. Remember, it's only money. I know that's easier said than done, but the faster you can detach the emotional connections to money, the better you're going to be at this game. That's all. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, bro.